Hi everyone, it's Rax. Sorry for the no webcam. I couldn't figure out a good way to put it somewhere without blocking the text. But I wanted to quickly go over the superpowers that we're going to get in Season 27 before Blizzard releases their patch with all their changes. I want to tell you a little bit about each one of them. I've had a chance to try them all, and obviously highlighted in green, I have what I think is the best current superpower for every single class, and I'll let you know which ones I think might change and which ones might stay. So let's start on the left with my favorite class, the Barbarian. And I think Barbarians have the absolute best power. They have Whirlwind continuously pulls in all monsters. I think this has got to be the best power of any of them. The reason why this is so strong is when you're pulling in all the monsters, you take no damage. When you're pulling in all the monsters, you can play any map. You can just drag them along. And you can get massive value out of your area damage. This Whirlwind power is taken pretty much for every single pushing build, and I really hope that they don't nerf it. The only reason that they would nerf it is because they think it's too strong, but Barbarians are absolutely loving this power. The Hammer of the Ancients power is beautiful. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. The omnidirectional hit and the shock waves that it sends out are truly spectacular. So the art team over there that designed it did a fantastic job. The problem is the shock waves don't do any damage. The omnidirectional thing doesn't help you too much because usually you have the monsters pixeled anyway, and the Whirlwind power is just too strong. So they're going to have to pump Hammer of the Ancients way up for you to even use it over Whirlwind, and I don't think that's going to happen enough. Then finally, Wrath of the Berserker gives you increased damage. It's really not that much. You would only take that in a build if the Whirlwind doesn't help you, which would be a huge surprise. Almost every build can use a pixeling of all the monsters. So Barbs are in a really, really good spot. They are just going to dominate with Whirlwind, Hoda, and Raykor. They got 3 of the best builds in the game. Barbs are going to be S tier next season. Crusaders got kind of the short end of the stick. The Blessed Hammers are supposed to do crackling energy, but really it does absolutely nothing. The feedback has been given to Blizzard. They're going to need to buff it massively. And also just the Blessed Hammer build itself is so clunky and it just doesn't do any damage. It's going to need a huge superpower to be viable. Casting the Fist of the Heavens every 2 seconds automatically is a cool concept, but 2 seconds is way too short. If they lower it dramatically, then maybe it'll be a good speed farming build, but if they don't give it additional power beyond that, it's nothing to get excited about. And then finally, casting the Falling Sword summons 2 Holy Archangels. These Archangels are extremely strong. They just chop everything that they see. The problem is there's a 1-minute cooldown on it. Now, people are exploiting that by leaving the game, then they come back on floor 1 and they reset the Archangels. Blizzard's going to remove that nonsense for sure. But if we can get the Archangels up a little bit more often than every 60 seconds, then you'll take Falling Sword in pretty much every build, and that will certainly help you with your clears. Moving on to the Demon Hunter, the Strafe turns the Demon Hunter into a lawnmower, and if you didn't watch my video yesterday about the lawnmower Demon Hunter, this is not a good thing. The Strafe power we thought could be the strongest one in the game, but it doesn't have auto-targeting and it has some weird, buggy mechanics. They're going to really need to fix that one, fix the bugs, and give it auto-targeting for that to be good for the Demon Hunter. The Vengeance that summons the rockets, these rockets actually do have a very huge role. Support Demon Hunters are needed for pretty much all group play. They're taken all the time, and this Vengeance actually makes them deal significant damage and helps them be an RGK and kill the boss. So this is actually extremely helpful, and it will help you on builds like the God DH, for example. And then the Cluster Arrow turns into a piercing ray of light. Sounds really cool. It just doesn't do a lot. They're going to have to do a rework there to make it viable. We move on to Monk, and Wave of Light now summons a bell that deals massive damage, and these bells that it summons just wipe out the whole map. And Wave of Light is already probably the strongest individual build in the game. So you take the best build in the game, and you give it probably the strongest environmental power. And I was doing speed 130s yesterday on my stream, and some people watching couldn't even believe how fast I was just detonating them with Wave of Light. So it is possible that Blizzard might nerf the bells, and they say that, oh, it's too strong, but Wave of Light is already super strong anyway, and I think the time would be much better spent fixing the bad powers rather than nerfing the good powers. So I could see it going either way. They might nerf the bells or they might not and focus their attention either way, Wave of Light is going to dominate. Wave of the 100 Fist, the second power, is always active. It lets you punch really fast. The problem is there's no obvious way to take advantage of this in the game. Raiment sucks, and what are you going to do? Stack Stricken with it? Like, that's not very exciting. So that power is worthless. The 7-sided strike one with Juliana is pretty good. My buddy Snail was playing it a lot and testing it, and he said it actually made quite a bit of difference for Juliana. So that's nice. I played it. It wasn't too bad. It was kind of fun. Juliana is kind of mid-tier, and it's not like a huge power boost, so I don't think it's anything to get too excited about, but if you love Juliana, you will notice a difference. We go to Necro. The Golem stores and moves up to 30 corpses. Kind of my pre-patch prediction so far is kind of coming true. How do we exactly take advantage of moving the corpses and storing them? Haven't seen any super clever uses of it. So we'll have to see if somebody can think of something. The best power is probably the one that they nerf. The enemies are constantly assaulted by Army of the Dead. They're still assaulted by Army of the Dead. No, it's not speed clearing 150s like it was before. But actually, I went back in and tried it, and I was very, very surprised. The Wrathman Necro with the constant assaulting, even after the nerf, is still really, really strong. It's still one of the best builds in the game, and it's probably going to be the Necro's best farming build, if not the new Death Nova. So it's really quite good. And speaking of Death Nova, for the third power, it summons the spirits. I couldn't really ever tell that these spirits were doing much. My Death Nova seemed to be doing all of the damage. So the power itself kind of sucks, but the Death Nova build, the new Trag'Oul build and LOD Death Nova is going to be quite strong. Especially if Blizzard can figure out a way for Death Nova to kill a single target. Death Nova could be a contender for one of the best builds. We move on to Witch Doctors. If you saw my video yesterday saying Witch Doctors are in critical condition, this is both with their builds and with their powers. Their powers are just so bad. 5 seconds after casting Haunt, absolutely nothing happens. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to pull all enemies. It doesn't really help you at all. If you're in like a big open area, the monsters are getting stuck on trees. They're getting stuck on fences, like in Fields of Misery. And by the time that it actually activates, I would have just Piranatoed them together myself and just dealt the damage. So this power really sucks. The Horrify becomes an aura, gives you 15% damage and 15% less damage. 15% damage is not even one greater of tier, guys. It's 17%. So it's not even one tier of damage. So how is anybody going to be excited for that? I have no idea. And then their best power right now is Gargantuans summon zombie dogs and they cast Locust Swarm. That's nice. But the problem is the Locust Swarms cast by Gargantuans don't proc your Ring of Emptiness. That's the entire point of Locust Swarm. So it's like Gargantuans, you had one job and you didn't do it. Like, they'll fix that bug. If they fix that, maybe this power is good enough. But I think this power's main focus was to play with Helltooth, and Helltooth with this power is nowhere near as strong as some of these other builds. So unless they're planning a rework to Helltooth, I feel like even this power has to get stronger. And finally, we go to Wizards. Wizards right now are just breaking the game with their Storm Armor thing. You can reset the Storm Armor instant kill with another armor, so people are speed farming 150s. It's quite obnoxious. They're going to fix that. When that's fixed, the Storm Armor thing, I think, will be far too weak. Once a minute, you get to kill one monster. That's not really that exciting. I'd like to see them do something different. The idea I gave them was Storm Armor summons a thunderstorm, and it does like significant damage. That might be better. Something like that. The Arcane Orb spawns around you and detonates together. This is actually quite helpful for the Frozen Orb build. I actually played a Shimizu DMO Frozen Orb Wizard today with this power, and I actually opened a 125 and I cleared it no problem. I can actually clear higher. So I think I might try that here pretty soon. It was an interesting playstyle. I thought I was going to absolutely hate it, but actually it was pretty strong, and it was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to have to make a guide on that. And then finally, the winner here is Magic Missile fires 20 missiles and gains the Seeker Rune. Obviously, that's the first video I made. I'm sure you guys watched it. The magic missiles are just detonating Firebirds, and if the server would ever stop lagging, I could easily do at least a 140 with my Wizard. But the problem with the magic missile rune is it lags the game. It just lags the game so badly. So people love the magic missile build and they want it to stay. But I don't know if Blizzard can even afford to release the wizard like this because I think the servers are just going to crash. So then we look at some solutions. Well, what if you lower the number of missiles from 20 to 10? Well, that would be a huge nerf because currently magic missile itself is not strong enough to do any kind of damage to be any real build on its own. Magic missile triggers firebirds. So the number of triggers that you get are just simply based on the number of missiles that hit. So let's say they nerf the number of missiles in half, but they gave missiles like triple the damage. That would be just a straight up huge nerf because the triple the damage doesn't matter and you just cut down the number of firebird procs in half. So the thing that I'm looking at, which is kind of hard to solve from Blizzard, is how do you keep the magic missile build, make it not lag, and are you going to continue to let it be a firebird build, or are you going to give magic missile such a buff that it actually becomes its own damage dealer? Like, are they going to say, magic missile now fires 10 missiles, and it gets like, I don't know, whatever the number would have to be, 5,000% increased damage for every missile. Now all of a sudden, now maybe you take a Depth Diggers, a Simplicity Strength, maybe you take an LOD, and now maybe all of a sudden you are crushing. Something like that. So it's a godly power. They wouldn't need to change anything about it if it wouldn't just crash the servers. I think it crashes the servers worse than anything else. I can't even play it. So doesn't matter how cool the power is if you can't even play it. Anyway, that was my quick rundown of how the class superpowers are looking right now. We're going to get the patch next week and we'll jump back on the PTR. I expect a lot of this to change, so don't commit any of this to memory. The ones that I think will stay that are really good, I think the Whirlwind will stay. I think the Archangels could definitely stay after they fix the bug. I think the Vengeance could stay, but it might change a little bit because it's currently once every 60 seconds, which sucks. The bells might be on Blizzard's nerf radar, but Wave of Light is godly on its own anyway, so, I mean, Wave of Light's going to clear 150 even if you nerf the bells, so, I mean, if you're asking me, I'd just say let the bells go, who cares? The enemies are constantly assaulted by the Army of the Dead. They already fixed it, and I think it's in, like, the perfect spot. It's really powerful still, and people are really going to like it. There are, again, some of the zombie dogs. This needs to straight up be buffed. It needs to be either be changed or buffed. Witch Doctors just need a complete redo. And I would be shocked if the magic missile thing doesn't change because of lag. Not because it's not a great idea, not because it's too powerful or anything. It's just too laggy. That's what I'm thinking, guys. What do you hope is coming out of the next week's patch? And I'll see you then.